Deception in Politics, the podcast that pulls back the curtain on the forces shaping our world from the shadows. This is where influence becomes a weapon, where corruption hides behind polished speech, and where the truth is often the first casualty. From chilling true crime cases to calculated political manipulation, we go beyond the headlines to expose the strategies, uncover the cover-ups, and connect the dots others refuse to see. Because behind every scandal, every secret deal, and every shocking revelation, there's always a trail of power, money, and deception. Our mission is simple: follow the money, question the narrative, and reveal the truths they hoped would stay buried. This podcast is dedicated to fearless conversations, bold investigation, and asking the questions others won't. If you're ready to challenge what you've been told and see the world through a sharper lens, you're in the right place. This is Power, Deception, and Politics. Let's begin. Welcome, listeners, to another episode of Power, Deception, and Politics. Grab your coffee, lock your doors, and brace yourselves, because what you're about to hear isn't some dusty, cold case from the archives. This is a live, unfolding horror story exploding right now on April 10, 2026, in the heart of Scarborough, Southwest Ontario. A scandal so grotesque, so dripping with political rot, that it exposes exactly how the Liberal Party of Canada's decade-plus reign of reckless immigration, soft-on-crime pandering, and vote-chasing multiculturalism has turned our communities into hunting grounds for predators. We're talking about a convicted child sex offender, a man who groomed and molested a vulnerable 13-year-old girl he was supposed to be teaching, not just lurking in the shadows, but embedded like a tick in Doly Begum's Liberal by-election campaign. He shook hands with Prime Minister Mark Carney on camera. He used the official campaign email. He offered rides to voters. And the Liberals? They claim they had no idea. Bull. This is the direct, inevitable result of Liberal policies that opened the floodgates without checks, slapped predators with slap-on-the-wrist sentences, and prioritized ethnic voting blocs over the safety of Canadian kids. Buckle up. We're going step by step from the immigration arrival to the courtroom horror to the campaign trail handshake, and I'm not holding back. Let's rewind to the beginning, the roots of this nightmare planted long before the Red Team took power, but supercharged by their catastrophic failures. Yusuf Ali Talukder immigrated to Canada in 2002 with his family, settling into the tight-knit Bengali Muslim community of Scarborough. He wasn't some faceless newcomer. He was ambitious, building what he called the DACA Learning Center, a private after-school tutoring program marketed to vulnerable immigrant kids, many from the same faith and cultural background. He rose to become president of the Association of Bangladeshi Engineers and Architects of Ontario. On paper, a community pillar, but behind the scenes, a predator in teacher's clothing. By 2007, he had zeroed in on a 13-year-old girl, one of his students, whose father had just died. He exploited her grief, her trust, her position as his pupil. Over roughly a year, the grooming escalated with sick precision. He'd point to her bra strap, trace his hand around the neckline of her shirt, press his knuckles to her chest, all while making it look pretty normal and not obvious to the other kids in class. Then came the day of the assault, November 24, 2007, at the DACA Learning Center. While other students worked, Talukder approached her desk repeatedly. He slipped his hand inside her clothing and squeezed her breast 5 to 7 separate times. He lifted the bottom of her shirt, told her to sit properly when her legs were crossed, and rubbed the zipper area of her pants with his knuckles. She elbowed him, cried silently, but he wasn't done. After class, he handed her his notebook with the words, "Never tell anybody," scrawled in pencil. Then he snatched it back, erased the message right in front of her, and put it away like nothing happened. This wasn't a one-off mistake. This was calculated, predatory evil, abuse of power, exploitation of vulnerability, the exact kind of horror that should have ended his public life forever. Fast forward to the courtroom in 2010. Ontario Court Justice D. Hackett heard it all: the victim's testimony, the family's confrontation the very next day. Talukder didn't deny it when cornered. He looked the girl's mother and aunt in the eye and said, "Sorry, I misbehaved. It was a little mistake." Then, get this, he took off his shoe and offered it to the mother so she could beat him instead of calling the police. His wife chimed in, telling the family to leave justice to the community because going to the cops would ruin the girl's name in their tight-knit circles. The judge saw through every lie. Talukder was found guilty of sexual touching of a person under 14 and sexual assault. The Crown proved deliberate grooming, calculated abuse of trust. Sentence: 6 months in jail and 3 years probation. A joke. But that wasn't all. He got a 10-year prohibition order. No hanging around parks, schools, playgrounds, or anywhere kids under 16 congregate. No computer communication with anyone under 16. And crucially, no paid or volunteer positions of trust or authority over kids under 16. The Ontario College of Teachers revoked his certificate in 2013 for professional misconduct. The Toronto Star and CP24 reported it at the time. It was public record. Yet by 2015, the Star caught him still running the DACA Learning Center, tutoring kids as young as 6, charging families $90 for 4 lessons a month. He claimed a big guy supervisor was always in the room, but when pressed, it was an 18 or 20-year-old student. He told reporters, "I already learned a lesson. I am always careful. Anybody can complain." This predator was back in the game, operating in the shadows of a private tutoring empire that the province had zero oversight over. Why? Because Canada's justice system, even before the Liberals ramped it up, treated child sex offenders with kid gloves. But the real explosion came under Trudeau's Liberals starting in 2015. Here, where Liberal policies turned this personal horror into a national indictment. Trudeau's government supercharged immigration to record levels, over 1 million newcomers a year at peaks, chain migration, family reunification without ironclad criminal background checks for every single person entering the system. Talukder arrived pre-2015, sure, but the Liberals kept the doors wide open, flooded Scarborough ridings like this one with unvetted community networks, and preached multiculturalism as gospel while ignoring integration red flags. No serious vetting for community leaders who end up in political orbits. Add to that the soft-on-crime revolution, Bill C-75 in 2019, which made some serious offenses easier to plea down to summary convictions with lighter sentences, slashed bail rules, and created a revolving-door justice system where repeat offenders, including sex predators, walk free faster. Judicial vacancies piled up, cases got tossed. Sex offender registries, enforced half-heartedly at best. Deportation for non-citizen criminals. A bureaucratic nightmare under Liberal rules that prioritized human rights over public safety. Critics screamed it for years. These policies don't just fail victims, they embolden predators by signaling that consequences are optional. Talukder served his joke sentence, completed probation, and slid right back into community influence, tutoring, engineering associations, mosques, newcomer support. No one was watching because the system Liberal policies built doesn't watch. It chases votes. Scarborough Southwest is a Liberal stronghold packed with Bengali and Muslim voters. Begum herself was an NDP star there, popular, connected. When she defected to the Liberals on February 3, 2026, quitting her provincial seat and deputy leader role to run federally after Bill Blair stepped down for a diplomatic post, it was pure power politics. Carney's team poached her to lock in the riding ahead of the April 13 by-election. Community networks, gold for turnout. And who better than a guy like Talukder, president of ABEO, longtime community fixture, to deliver? Step by step, the embedding happened under the Liberals' noses because their machine doesn't ask hard questions when the votes flow. Talukder had already invited Begum, then still NDP MPP, as a special guest to ABEO's January 26, 2026 AGM. When she flipped to federal Liberals, he was all in. Campaign launch, there he is, right beside her in photos. Community events. Photographed with her and Public Safety Minister Gary Anandasangaree himself, the guy in charge of national security and child protection. Irony so thick you could choke. Advance voting week. Talukder signs Facebook posts with his full name, phone number, and the official campaign email info at Doly Begum. He directs voters to the office at 472 Danforth Road, offers free rides to the polls. If you or someone you know requires transportation. We are here to support you in exercising your democratic right. His personal page, flooded with Liberal graphics and Begum promos. Then the killer moment, the Carney campaign stop on Kingston Road. CBC National News films it. Talukder shakes the Prime Minister's hand on camera, Begum right there. In his own Facebook video signed with the campaign email, he lobbies Carney directly. First, send Doly Begum to Ottawa, then we will see what more she can contribute. Carney chuckles back, first we get to Ottawa. This isn't some random volunteer. This is a man banned for a decade from positions of trust over kids, now organizing voter transport, rubbing shoulders with the PM in a campaign for a riding full of families. And the Liberals' response when the Bureau's Sam Cooper dropped the bombshell report on April 10? Spokesperson Matteo Rossi. Talukder has no role with the campaign and will not be invited to any of its events. Neither Doly nor anyone working on the campaign had any knowledge of this individual's legal history. The event with Carney was an open community event. Talukder himself spins it. I am one of many dedicated community supporters. It is in the public records. My past should not associate with her. No formal ties, he claims, just normal community engagement. This is the savage truth the liberals don't want you to hear. Their policies created this vacuum. For 10 years, Trudeau's liberals hammered diversity is our strength, while gutting vetting in political organizing, community grants, and ethnic outreach. They defanged the justice system so predators like Talukder, who continued tutoring post-conviction because private programs had zero oversight, could rebuild influence. They poured billions into immigration without parallel investment in child protection screening for volunteers in high immigrant ridings. They chased every block vote, from Scarborough to Brampton, by turning a blind eye to who shows up at events. Carney, he's doubling down on the same playbook, poaching defectors like Begum for quick wins, hosting open-door community stops where anyone with a smile and a vote promise gets access. No background checks. Because that would be Islamophobic or anti-immigrant in liberal land. The result? A convicted molester lobbies the PM on national TV for a cabinet post for his candidate. Advance polls are open. Election day is Monday, April 13, and parents in Scarborough Southwest are left wondering how many other community supporters are hiding in plain sight. This isn't isolated. It's the rotten fruit of failed liberal policies. Open borders without teeth, soft sentences that let monsters roam, multiculturalism that protects predators over kids, and a political machine so desperate for power it skips the basics. Doly Begum might not have known or claimed she didn't, but the system that elevated her and ignored the red flags, that's pure liberal creation. The victim's trauma from 2007 still echoes. The 10-year ban Talukder violated in spirit by inserting himself into a kids-heavy community campaign, ignored. This is how we got here step by bloody step. And until Canada rejects this liberal rot, more nightmares like this are coming. Vote like your kids' lives depend on it, because they do. Stay vigilant, Canada. This story isn't over, we're just getting started. And that brings us to the end of another episode of Power, Deception, and Politics. If today's conversation showed us anything, it's that the truth is rarely simple, and the real story is often hidden beneath layers of influence, power, and carefully crafted narratives. But the more we question, the more we uncover. Remember, follow the money, question the narrative, and never stop asking who benefits. If you enjoyed this episode, make sure to subscribe, share it with someone who believes in truth over spin, and leave us a review so more people can discover the conversations that matter. This is Power, Deception, and Politics, where fearless storytelling and bold conversations take center stage. Until next time, stay curious, stay informed, and keep questioning.